What's up, everyone? Welcome in. I'm here in the Roar studio, like office, getting ready to go on the radio tonight, and wanted to jump in and kind of get the show started. Hopefully, everything goes somewhat as planned. I'm still working some things out, so I appreciate it. Um, yeah, just like the team, John, just like the team, still working things out, trying to make it as we go. The idea is that once Walt gets off the radio, I will take the laptop and everything and go over there um, to the studio and plug it all in before the show starts. That's the idea. We'll see. If you don't mind, get in and let me know what you want me to talk about. I got 2 hours tonight from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. I know we're going to talk all things Clemson. So please let me know what specifically, like what questions you want me to discuss, me and Big Al to discuss. Welcome in Alakazam, Gamble. Welcome in John and Jonathan. You guys are great. I appreciate you being in. Hopefully more will get in as the show goes on. But like I said, just kind of getting the video running. So maybe that will be half the battle, or at least that's the idea. So yeah, let me know what thoughts you have in the chat. Big Al says he's in the parking lot. Might have to go get Big Al real quick. I'm going to go get Big Al. What's up, Tiggs? I'm going to go get Big Al real quick. I'll be right back. Be right back. We got Big Al coming in. We got a lot of people watching and waiting, and nobody here. Big Al, why don't you take a seat, my friend? Yeah. So, the idea is that in 9 minutes we're going to go over there really quick, and Al, you can take the tripod, and we're going to try to get this set up and have no issues, which we know is not really possible. So just to give you some thoughts on my ideas for tonight show. By the way, I got a new intro video or intro song. Got some songs tonight. Let's see what the chat says. So Steel Gamble says Wiggin might play this week. That's interesting. It was kind of scary, Big Al Wiggins.
No doubt.
Earlier, I mean, me being having a knee issues myself, like that's pretty tough. I was worried about that personally.
But he was actually making a play when he did his stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was going for a layup. Whether you forget that or not. John says, how does Dabo and staff reverse this costly foot shooting the team is stuck in? Players making plays, then pow goes off the foot. Yeah, that's definitely something we got to get into, I think, is figuring out. It's our responsibility to figure out how Clemson's going to fix this. Frustrating because you know how good they are, and they are beyond that. I do feel like the team is better than their record. Dabo mentioned that. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So Tig says, hate to say it, but I see us at 2-3 after this game. Some people saying they're worried about losing to Syracuse. I mean, we'll look at their schedule a little bit further and see how we feel. Steel Gamble says, we're not losing another game. Take that to the bank.
Like Steel Gamble.
Yeah, it's hard to say the team has to rise up to the occasion, right? They have to figure it out. It's not on us to figure it out, which we usually like. We usually put it all on us and get so frustrated as fans, but honestly, the coaches have to figure it out. The players have to figure it out. I think the players want to figure it out, Syracuse has lost a number of starters to injury, and to think Clemson could even lose.
Walt's trying to talk him into it in there. He has been.
Talking into losing?
Yeah. I'm not saying he has said we're going to lose or anything, but he's talked about the matchup they present. That they stuff the run and they turn you over. They put the ball in the quarterback's hand. We got a little bit left.
Well, if they put the ball in the quarterback's hand, they play a 3-3-5.
Right.
So I feel like, how bad can they really stop our running game? I don't know. They really haven't played anybody. Have they played a Power 5 team yet?
I don't know.
Well, let's look.
But the internet webs can tell you.
Syracuse. Somebody on Twitter said, Clemson's going to be 4-8 at the end. I just don't see it, man. This team, you're telling me this team goes from shooting themselves in the foot to almost beating Florida State by 14. Well, they're at least going up by 14. We know that. So they played Army. Wow, good deal. Purdue would be a Power 5 team. But Purdue is rebuilding. Their coach left them for Louisville. Western Michigan, they destroyed them, and Colgate, they destroyed them. So what have they proved? What have they proven to us? We're gonna walk into that game scared. That's the worst thing you could do. Walk into that game thinking you're going to lose. Actually, Annabeth said that today. She said, we've already won 3 games. I think we're going to lose this one. And I'm like, well, if you walk into a game like that, 13-5 happens. Yeah, so the ladies on the softball team got hurt bad.
Almost that time.
Yep, 4 minutes. So let's see. Big Al, don't put Allen in the corner. Bill says that.
That's where I belong.
They beat Purdue, who isn't very good. Cuse has proven they can't put up a lot of points unless lesser competition. Even in the Dungy years, it wasn't always the case. They can put up a lot of points against lesser competition. Really, I want Clemson to run up the score this week. I don't know if they can. It's hard to say. I got about 3/4 into the passing chart. We'll talk about it when we get on the air. But since we got a few minutes, Al, I'm going to try to switch and add this camera, because this will be the camera.
Right.
I guess I could use that camera. It just probably won't have us in it. Myron Brown says we're going to go on a win. Well, so that's where the echo comes.
Mm-hmm.
It comes through this phone.
Yep.
and I wish that there was a way to mute this enough to, and I don't even know if there's a way to actually mute it enough to, you know, because it's got to always have a, well, I guess you could switch to, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah, we've done this before. This is not something you should be unused to.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
I mean, the studio is going to have it there, but this is going to echo if I do it like this. Because like if I put the audio into this, which I have to,
okay,
then this is always going to be picking up the audio, the computer.
So why do you have to have it on that instead of that?
Well, because I don't have a plug-in for a phone for audio, like from the jack to the. I mean, I guess I do technically, but it doesn't really work well. So I just plug it into the computer for it to work better. And I wish that there was a way to turn this down even further. I'm not really sure.
I feel like you need to make a little stop on Amazon.com.
I mean, I've turned the audio down on my phone a ton, and I still get echo. So, you know, the only other option is to just kind of angle the computer, and we work off of that webcam,
okay,
which would work fine. You know.
There you go.
So we'll just do that.
Done and done.
And we won't use the phone. I mean, I could use the phone outside of the studio as like a second camera.
So I don't get to carry this now?
Well, yeah.
Oh, I can? Okay.
I mean, I could use this phone as just a second camera. We could do that. That would be fun, right?
Do this. Sure.
Here. It's 7 o'clock, so we got to go.
Yes, it is.
We got to get out of here. We got to skedaddle. Ooh, that's not good. Let's mute that. There you go. What I want you to do is do a full studio shot with that camera, and then we'll take we'll take the computer in. Guys, this is like tech support 101. This is tech support 101 here. We're figuring it out as we go. So we'll get into the studio and we'll wait on Mr. Deptula to get out of here. 7 o'clock on the dot. So yeah, please get in, get some more questions. Please, we need more questions because we are the Roar. Where every day is game day. We need more questions. So we'll discuss a few things as hot topics. Alan, is there anything big you want to talk about? Just keep talking about Florida State.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel like you have to talk about Florida State a lot.
Did you go to the game?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about you being at the game versus me actually being I tailgated with Florida State fans. So it was something different. They were pretty happy, needless to say. I'm guessing he's walked away. Yeah, I guess so. Here we go. Here we go. Put it in outside now because that'll echo. So put it, you know. All right, I'm going to pipe it in here. Pipe it in. Piping in the audio here. So you probably can't hear the audio yet, but maybe you can.
Why is this going into there?
Use this one.
What
Unless I have to use either this one or this one.
Oh, you're using
Yeah, the camera, the webcam. Getting on the. Hey, Ramona. So we have the computer here. So just have that going with the feed, and then Big Al's going to be here.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Yeah.
Talking. Check 1 2. No, not getting anything. Check 1 2. I'm here. Barely. Do I need to turn up my volume over here?
Maybe.
How about now?
I can't. Can you say something?
Check 1 2.
I can switch it. We can switch it. I can switch it. Let's do it.
We're on it.
Switching them. Yeah, plug that in. Thanks. All right.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
All right. So now this one's still. Am I? Is it echoing now? Okay. Well. Welcome in to the Morgan Thomas Show. It's Tuesday night. You know what that means. From 7 to 9 tonight, the Morgan Thomas Show will continue. Hopefully you like that new intro. I made it myself. Yes, I did. So I enjoy it. But hopefully you enjoy that little mashup of the new intro with Deion Sanders. Prime time. You know, my favorite coach. Prime time. He got kind of humbled this weekend.
Yep. But
Deion Sanders, Ric Flair. Little former President Trump there, little morphin time. Jason the Red Ranger, or is it Jason the Green Ranger? Tommy the Red Ranger. No, Tommy the Green Ranger. Jason the Red. I had it right.
There you go.
I shouldn't second guess myself. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. We've got a packed show, got a ton to run through and talk about. Obviously, it's still Tuesday, so we can talk about, what happened over the weekend. Unfortunately, we're going to continue that and discuss where we think Clemson goes from here. Because the thing is, and as I'm going to tell my ladies who aren't in the car yet, but I'm going to wait, but I'm going to tell them they had a softball game tonight, Big Al, and they didn't win. So after the next break, I'm going to give them a little pep talk.
Okay.
And, I love my little hype pep talks. So I'm going to give my girls a pep talk, and then I'll give Clemson a pep talk as well, because they still have more season to go. They're just 2-2. There's plenty of games left on the schedule to go through. Now, that's kind of where I wanted to start off, because there are plenty of games to go through. But it's kind of 50-50 what you get from the fan base, it seems like. Some people in the fan base say, well, Clemson's not going to win another game. And I'm kind of scratching my head like, did they not just have an opportunity to beat Florida State twice? The fourth best team in the country. A lot of people feel like because of their resume should be the first number one team in the country. Because Michigan and Georgia, plenty of people that are smarter than me out there saying Florida State should be number one. But there's a feeling inside the fan base that, well, there's too many mistakes to overcome. There's too many issues. There's too many miscues. There's coaching issues, coaching concern, play calling, just situational awareness. A lot of the strategic stuff that's getting doubt out there in the fan base. And, I can understand it. I mean, this is kind of a newly charted territory. My daughter, she's 8 years old. She doesn't know anything about a Clemson team that's really had to struggle to try to find themselves. For the better part of Dabo Swinney's tenure, they've already found themselves most of the time. Going into the season, they know what they were going to be. They knew their identity, and they were going to execute at a high level. To win 10 games a season, every season, over and over, or more, and win national championships, which most teams, a lot of people forget this, most teams don't win national championships. Did you know that, Al?
That's right.
And I forget that as a fan. What I've tried to do this year is take a step back. And part of that taking a step back is saying, maybe it's not we. I hate to say that. Maybe it's not we anymore. I was a student. I was a season ticket holder. I do still go to the games, but the we, sometimes as fans, we bear all of the burden and the responsibility of the team. And for me, I'm starting to say, you know what, this year, I'm not going to bear all that burden. I'm going to enjoy the game. And I'm going to enjoy the journey to see how they figure it out.
That's fair enough. I got to tell you, I want the wins to start showing up, and I want them to show up in a hurry. I always enjoy the journey. I'm always at the games, unlike some people in the studio. But and I was there on Saturday. It was a tough one to watch. Well, I say that it was a great one to watch. It was a tough one to lose. That's a better way to put that. It was a tough one to lose. It's hard to lose when you feel like you're the better team and you outplay the other team. And I certainly think we did for the most part in that game. Just a couple of, real unfortunate things. We keep having to say this though, and it's starting to get a little bit annoying. We keep having to say, these disastrous turnovers. I told somebody, I just want to turn the ball over like a normal team. It doesn't have to go for 6 every single time. I don't understand how this continues to happen. At some point, you think this season that you got to regress to the mean. It's got to even itself out a little bit, and those bounces start going our way some. So we'll see how it works. But yeah, this team's got a lot of winning ahead, I hope.
And we'll get into that discussion all throughout tonight, 7 p.m., 9 p.m., the night shift here on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar, starting with Faxon on Monday night, and then the Morgan Thomas Show here with me and Big Al on Tuesday nights. We love to bring you local content, people that born and raised here. Well, really, I think Faxon was Atlanta, but, I was born and raised here, and I'm a Clemson grad, Clemson fan, and have a different perspective, hopefully, to bring to you. And I'd love to get your thoughts as well. Even though this is called the Morgan Thomas Show, I named it that way so I could remember what my show was called. It's not just about me or Big Al. It's also about you as well. Get into the Adams & Co. roofing text line, 864-654-7627. That's 864-654-ROAR. And it's also the number to call in if you want to get and be on the show, because we'd love to have you on the show to get your thoughts. I mean, we can go for 2 hours, but we'd love to get your thoughts as well. So please join us. Hopefully you're on your way to get dinner, maybe coming back from dinner. Some of you I know are going to work. So, hopefully you are having a good evening or had a good evening, getting ready for winding down. The schedule continues with at Syracuse, another 12 p.m. game, this time not one that would be at Clemson. So it's 12 p.m. In New York, and Clemson's going to have to travel up there. And I already know when I see Syracuse on the schedule, they're Syracuse, because fans are scared. There's a lot of things that could happen in that dome that you don't want to have happen. There's a lot of problems. Somebody could roll an ankle. Somebody could fumble. Hey, guess what? We're already pretty good at that. I said we. I shouldn't say we, because I'm trying to stay away from saying we. They're already pretty good at fumbling. But Syracuse is a team that, right now, currently, according to the analysts out there, has a better chance to win the game than Clemson, a 55.1% chance to win. Now the analytics say that, but Vegas doesn't say that. Vegas says -7 to Clemson. So Clemson is still a 1 touchdown favorite to win the game. Clemson is a team that, again, hung with Florida State. And Syracuse is a team that, when I look at their schedule, I kind of scratch my head and say, are we really going to walk into this game as fans saying this is a losable game? I mean, any game can be lost, as we can tell. We know. But isn't there something to be said about not going into the game that way? As I mentioned pre-show, if you're watching over on YouTube, I mentioned this at the Morgan Thomas Show over on YouTube. You never want to go into a game saying, I don't think we're going to win this game. Tonight, my daughter got into the car and she had all her gear on. She looked great. And I said, babe, you ready? You're going to play first base tonight. She said, yeah, I'm excited. I said, well, we're 3-0. We've scored really good. We've hit really good. I think you're going to do great. Go out there and crush Greer. She said, Dad, no, I don't know. We're due for a loss. I said, due for a loss? First of all, who says that? But second of all, who anticipates a loss? So that's what I'm saying to the fan base out there. Don't go into the weekend thinking, well, we're going to lose this one. Or that you're only going to win 2 more in the next 10 games. I say, do like the players are doing. You already hear it from them. Flush it. Now, it kind of goes, when we're talking about flushing, at this point, flushing is starting to turn into Triple H and Owen Hart. You know where I'm going with this, Al?
I don't.
You don't know anything about this.
I know who they are.
So Triple H made a comment that Owen Hart was like the nugget that never flushed. It just kept going around and around and around.
Awesome.
That was his comment on WWE. And he's like, I can't get rid of you. It's kind of like a cockroach, You can't get rid of him. It's like the boneheaded, disastrous fumble, turnover, sack, fumble, touchdown, pick six. You can't get rid of him. You keep flushing. I keep hearing articles, Clemson's just going to flush. Well, somebody needs to get a plunger because this is not flushing right now.
High-powered toilet.
Benson. No, Benford.
Brutal.
Benford toilet.
More power, baby.
You could probably destroy something with that. That probably wouldn't be good. But yeah, I think that, going into the game as a fan, I say be confident and be ready. I feel like leaving that game, I listen to the morning shows a lot because Mickey's show. And one thing that I thought, whenever there's a bad loss, you always think like, okay, the next day there's going to be everybody calling in saying all the worst thoughts possible. And it was actually the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. On Mickey's show, no kidding, it was 3 hours of people calling in and saying, you know what? Cade is young. And you know what? We're going to fight through with him. We're going to cheer him on. We're going to back him. You know what? This team is still trying to figure it out. They have a new offensive coordinator, believe it or not. I mean, he can work miracles, but maybe there's some growing pains within those miracles. There are a lot of really good plays, as we've seen, and there are some really bad plays too. Same thing on the defense. They have to work through it, and that's part of college football, and I think the fun of it is to kind of work through it and watch your team work through it. I'm actually more excited. Again, people called in, and it was the exact opposite. They said, you know what? We're excited about this team. You know what? There's 2 losses, and they're tough losses, and they're hardest, and they're conference losses. And 2 losses in September is Dabo Swinney's not used to that. And Dabo Swinney's fan base is not used to that. But maybe, just maybe, that this is something that could build and become better. And there's still chances. I mean, a lot of people out there say, oh, everything's off the table. Now, obviously, the playoffs might be off the table. Considering there's only 4 teams that are allowed in this last year, maybe the playoffs are off the table. But there's still a ton to play for. And guess what? Other things can happen. Bad things can happen to other teams too. Fumbles can happen to other teams too. Crazy things can happen. Losses that are unexplainable can happen to other teams too. And also to those teams that you lost to. Every game in front of Duke is not guaranteed. Every game in front of Florida State is not guaranteed. Now, Georgia's schedule is so easy, everything's guaranteed for them. And Michigan on the same boat, except for one game. It used to be both had one hard game. Now Michigan's the only team that has one hard game. But again, that's why they play the game, is to kind of figure out and work through it. So I'm excited for that building of this team. If Dabo Swinney, which we 2-time national champion, multiple 10-win seasons, multiple ACC championships, multiple state championships. If Dabo is who we think he is, which is one of the best coaches in the country, he'll figure it out. He'll work through it, and he'll teach his staff along the way, and his players will be better for it along the way. It's not like scorched earth time. And it's definitely not, in my opinion, only going to win 2 more games time. I mean, am I crazy? Or am I sunshine here? Because I don't want to be the sunshine guy either. But I definitely don't want to be the guy that's going into every week for the rest of the season saying, well, this is a losable game. We're going to lose this one.
Yeah, what a horrible way to go into things. You are crazy, yes, but for many other reasons. So as far as the football is concerned, no, absolutely. I think that's the mindset you have to go in with. I think it's the mindset Clemson needs to go in with. I mean, if you start going into games thinking you're going to lose, I mean, you're going to start finding ways to lose. We seem to be finding ways to lose without asking for it. You know, if you're going into a game with that mindset, you're asking for it even worse. So yeah, we've got to get off the mat here and start making some better plays and some better decisions. And I mean, we made a lot of good plays on Saturday. We really did. It's just a few little, outlier type plays. I say outliers for this season. They're not outliers. Unfortunately, they've kind of become care of business against the teams that you should beat.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, Clemson still has a lot in front of them. Could they get to 7? But preseason, we weren't thinking that at all. We were thinking much higher than that. But now it's trying to build off of what they know and what they know works and what doesn't work, and try to get to that threshold of 7 and see if they can exceed that. I believe they still can. I'd like to get your opinion too on the text line and call in 864-654-7627. But before we do, as we continue on tonight, we'll go on break and get a message from our sponsors. Again, this is the night shift. This is the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar.
Attorney Joe Cordell. Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills. Online at CordellCordell.com. 5580 Place, Suite 900, Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah, they are. You can't. There's no. I've listened to them.
This is Coach Dabo Sweeney. I remember how great it was to turn 21. But remember, just because you're 21 or over doesn't mean you can buy alcohol.
Yeah, I don't care. Can you? Is it possible to have it just like to where they this seat can hear the show? So like if you know how you turn it on for the can this is this in queue right now or no? Can you turn it on? Yeah, number 3. Can you do that? Let's see what it. Well, it's. I have a like microphone plugged in. I want to see if it'll work. Well, not in queue. Just have it with the live. Like, can you have it like on? Yeah. Right.
Could not have done it without our loyal guests, friends, family, and our amazing team members. Drop them this week.
Huh. Okay.
Chicken breast, brisket, wings, and amazing.
Gotcha.
5 cheese mac, cornbread.
So
Just like grandma.
this is going in like it's this. I got this cable that just is a microphone. So it's piped in as if it's the mic, but so there has to be audio coming to it. You know, like there has to be sound playing. Well, so here's the thing, Ramona. This is not plugged in. This is plugged into the computer, so it shouldn't like. It's not plugged into this. Like this is off. So we can pipe it to YouTube. So we're gonna pipe the audio to YouTube. Is what I'm trying to do. Right. Right. Well, it's plugged into the. Well, let's try it and see. Let's see what it can do. Can you do it right now and see if I can hear it picking up the commercials? Well, just turn the mic on it. Why not?
Is he being difficult?
Well, there's nothing coming to it. Well, so take is it in queue right now? Oh, take it out of queue. See if that does anything. Well, it picks up me and Al. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, it picks up. Well, the computer is picking me up. This is not like this is not even plugged in. Yeah. So the computer picks me up. No, I don't want to do that.
Turn his mic off for a moment.
We had it work before somehow. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. We're back. We are back at the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. Always here Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., talking all things sports, but mainly Clemson football, and continuing discussion with Big Al beside me and Ramona over there. Thank you so much for being on the ones and twos on the board. Clemson has a game coming up this weekend, an away game against Syracuse. A lot of the fan base kind of concerned. They don't know. Maybe not. Maybe Clemson can win. Maybe not. The matchup predictor says that Syracuse will win, but the Vegas says that Clemson will win. Still a lot to play for. as Dabo Sweeney said, he recently came out and said that the team is pretty angry. He said pissed off, actually.
Should be.
And that's a quote from him. So, I'm just saying what the head coach said. You only get 12 opportunities to play. You own it, you look at it, but you press on. That's what football teaches you. You get up and go to practice and go from there. Al, if you're in their position, you agree with that? Is that all you really can do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they got to move on to the next game, get ready to rock and roll, because we got a lot ahead of us. Like you said, this is not one of these deals where you just kind of throw away the season. You want to, continue building and keeping that momentum up and ending this season on a positive note. We got so much more left to play for. I understand the goals, as you mentioned before, that we kind of, set preseason, especially Dabo was talking about. They're on the clock for the national championship, something he doesn't normally do. That seems to be off the table. And honestly, it's a long shot to get back to the ACC championship game. But just because you don't meet those goals certainly doesn't mean you can't have a successful season. And Clemson gets on a winning streak, gets a couple of ranked wins, and of course gets the win over South Carolina at the end of the year. Then I think we're in a completely different place as a fan base.
When you go through the players from the Florida State game, now you were at the game.
Yes.
So I made the mistake, which, by the way, the fans told me don't go to the game because, last time I've been to plenty Florida State wins, but I was at a game where Florida State destroyed Clemson, 2013, right? I was on the field for that. So when I mentioned that on the show, everybody said, Morgan, you got to get out of there. Stay away from the stadium. So you know what? I did that. I stayed away. I actually watched the game with some coworkers and friends that I've known for years. Three of them, Florida State fans. So it was a house divided at the time. Great tailgate food, amazing food. But a house divided against Florida State fans, that's tough. And we kind of fought through it. But honestly, for majority of the game, the Florida State friends that were with me felt like Clemson had control. I mean, Florida State did not have the lead in regulation.
Right.
They only won on basically a 50-50 ball that obviously Keon Coleman is going to win that.
Lucas was in such great coverage there, too.
How was the atmosphere when you were like that? People around you were like, this is a toss-up? Because at least where I was at, it felt like Clemson was in control.
They were, and when they were going in to take even more control, the infamous play where the guy is blitzing and Maffa leaks out instead of staying to protect Klubnik, and Klubnik doesn't see it. I don't even know how Klubnik didn't see it because the guy was through a hole that had to be 10 yards wide. I know he was looking to the left of the field, but I figure he could have, even seen him through his peripheral. But absolutely brutal, and like we said, it's one of those crazy things. Not only did he get drilled and lose the ball, but it went right into Florida State Florida State players' hands, and they had a convoy of them running to the end zone. And Cade, hey, kudos to Cade for getting up and trying to chase the guy down, even though we knew he didn't have a chance.
Cade didn't have a chance? Yeah. Well, he just did. He had too many other people helping him.
There were 4 people there that were going to protect him from it.
Cade could run him down now.
Oh, no doubt. He's got the speed to run him down, and he did.
He's one of the leading tacklers.
Still, that was tough to watch because you just felt, oh, here we go. That's what it felt like at that point. But before that, Clemson was in control and felt like they were going to win that game.
Have you ever seen that meme where it's Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala? Have you ever seen that one where it's young Anakin, Hayden Christensen, and he's kind of saying something funny, and she says, "But you're not being serious, are you?"
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, more serious, yeah. And then she's like, "Right? Yeah. You're not serious, right?"
Yeah.
So I made a meme like that, basically like preseason. Everybody said, "Oh, you know what? No matter what, the defense will keep us in the game. Defense will keep Clemson in the game." Right, Cade? Right? Offense? Maybe not so much with these kind of turnovers. And I'm just joking in that sense. But it's definitely one of those things where it's like, for the most part, there was a great game plan. I agree with all the analysts here on this show. When you look at it, there were a few parts of the game that maybe there was a lapse in decision. And they admitted it. And so everybody could see it. You didn't need to admit it, but everybody saw it. And they came out and they owned up to it. Cade owned up to his decision. Dabo owned up to his decision as well. And so there were little parts of the game, but those parts of the game that changed it take away from everything else. And I do feel like the team overall is getting better as the week goes on, as the season goes on. So I'm curious to see what happens next as they continue. Now, some people in the Adams and Cody Roofing text line, we got a texter saying 8-4 is the ceiling. So there's a couple of games maybe they feel like they could win. Maybe they feel like that they could win the Syracuse game. So that would be 8-4. Because we said 7-5 if you go by the matchup predictor.
Right.
So if you go ahead and say, well, they have a chance to win Syracuse, then that's 8-4. But anything above that would be difficult. So they're saying that the two losses at that point would be Miami and Notre Dame.
Yep.
Now, I feel like Notre Dame is still on the table because they're coming to the house. They're coming to Clemson. You just played a game without Antonio Williams. Everybody forgets that. Nobody is talking about that. You played a game and had an opportunity on a, 40-yard rush from Phil Maffa. You were on the 29-yard line, and if that series would have finished with a score, you would have been up 14 points. It was only 1:44 to go.
Could have been 10 points, but yeah.
Well, have you seen the kicker? I don't know. Let's give it 14. So you could be up 14 points, and there's a lot. You play the game different.
No doubt.
As a player, you play the game different when you're up 14 at home in the fourth quarter. You would have just scored, kicked off, and they would have played the fourth quarter video.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been locked in.
Yeah.
Honestly. But with that play, the reason why it was even worse than of all things that could happen, as you mentioned, can't just have a normal fumble. Why don't you just fall on it, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, Syracuse, if you cause a fumble, just fall on it.
That's the thing to do.
If you intercept it, just fall on it. Just trip. That's what I'm going to hope for. Just trip. Just stumble over your own 2 feet. Don't take it all the way. We can't handle it. Our hearts can't go on.
Can't do it anymore.
As the opposite of Celine Dion. So I just think that there would have been a huge difference there. And that's the fourth best team in the country, according to ratings. You're talking about a team that everybody admits has the resume to be one of the best teams in the country, has the experience to be one of the best teams in the country, and has the players that they need to beat anybody. And Clemson at home had an opportunity. Now, you're going to tell me they have no opportunity against Notre Dame? I don't believe it. You're going to tell me they have no opportunity against Syracuse? I don't believe it. So they could. What's the next level? You could go 10-2 would be the highest.
The ceiling is 10-2. I'm here on record to say the ceiling is 10-2.
And do you feel like that's attainable?
I think it's attainable. I don't know that it's realistic necessarily, but absolutely. And based off the things that you just mentioned and the way you described the Florida State game is the fact that we outplayed, the number, 3, 4, 5 team in the country, whatever it may be, depending on what service you look at, I guess. We outplayed them. What makes you think we couldn't outplay or beat the rest of these teams on the schedule? Because we're not facing a team as good as them or as highly ranked as them
exactly
the rest of the year. So absolutely, we could go 10-2. I think when you look at the season so far and the fact that we are 2-2 and we do keep having these, these kind of disaster turnovers and fluke things happen, should we believe we're going 10-2? No, probably not. I think 8-4 might be a realistic ceiling, but it's certainly not the ceiling.
And that kind of goes back, and I have Jerry over on YouTube, the Morgan Thomas Show over on YouTube. We're live streaming. Jerry gets in all caps and he says, "We finally beat Clemson in Death Valley. No disrespect to Clemson, but FSU did it." Hats off to Florida State.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, the fans, as Dabo mentioned, as everybody knows, it's very difficult. What do you think, you're going to beat the team for the rest of their life? For the next 40 years? For the next 100 years, you're going to always beat Florida State? No, that's not realistic. So it had to happen eventually. Jerry has a good point. The Florida State fans can really be happy about that. Now, on the flip side, I don't think, I think it's funny that he has that Jordan Travis had the Tiger King t-shirts. Did you see that, Al? You're going to buy you a Tiger King t-shirt because he beat LSU and he beat Clemson, and now he's making Tiger King t-shirts. I think they look pretty good, actually.
I didn't see the shirt. I heard about it, but I didn't see the shirt.
And did you know that Joe Exotic is coming out and complaining? Because apparently Joe Exotic's a Florida State or a Florida fan.
I didn't realize.
He's, I didn't know that either, but apparently Joe Exotic says, chomp, chomp. Florida is the best team. Can't even be the best team in your state. and he is in jail, as you know. He's in prison.
Did not know that. No.
Al, what do
I
you
don't know anything about.
What?
And thank
You don't-
goodness
do
I
you-
don't know anything about Joe Exotic.
do you even know who I'm talking about with Joe Exotic? Do you know what he looks like?
I think I have seen a picture.
Okay, that's not very confident.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I shouldn't say that on here.
He's an interesting fella,
Yeah.
and I think he's hilarious, at least from his show. But
Okay.
he had a lot of things. He was treating tigers pretty poorly,
Okay.
inhumane for sure, and he got put in prison for it. And he's definitely a big character, but he's from prison saying he wants any lawyer, and they'll get 80% or something like that of the settlement to sue Jordan Travis over those T-shirts.
I like it.
I mean, as Walt says, we can sue anybody for anything now.
Exactly.
So might as well just get in and sue anybody, right? I mean, that's the America we're in. Actually, I like the T-shirts, and he did beat LSU. He did beat Clemson. So, he can go out there and buy and make a T-shirt. Anybody can. I like it. Texter gets in 4561. You should text in more often because this is the only text I see from this texter, by the way. So now that you know how to do it more often. We'd love to get your opinion. He says, am I the only one that thinks a 10-win season is still within reach? Well, I think, Al, did you say it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's within reach for sure. I mean, again, we just played really well the other day, and I was speaking with some people this Sunday, and they were talking about the same thing. Look, I'm encouraged after what I saw, and that is something I am not used to hearing in a loss. Coming after a loss, it's not something you're used to hearing. But I think with how bad we looked at Duke and how bad we looked early on against Charleston Southern, I think we've kind of gotten this mindset that these steps we're taking are positive steps. And when you go toe to toe with Florida State, who is one of the highest ranked teams in the country, I think that does bode for some optimism, and I feel like that's kind of where we're headed. And hopefully, people are going to get on the train and keep supporting, and we'll make some progress. Hopefully.
Well, we're getting ready to go to break. Before I go to break, I wanted to give a shout out to the Fountain Inn Pandas, my 8 and under softball team. They had a game tonight and had an L. First loss of the season, pretty bad, 15-3. So tough loss, something they have to learn and grow from and face that adversity. Again, it kind of goes back to Clemson and being a fan of that team. You have to address it and try to find ways to improve. But team, I know it didn't go as you hoped, but remember, it's not about the score. It's about how much effort you put into the game and how great you do and how much fun you have. Every game is a chance to learn and grow and get better. So keep your heads up, stay positive, come back stronger tomorrow night. And when Coach Morgan gets out there, and we'll show him what we got. All right. Hey, this is the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. We'll be right back after this. Saw everything I needed to see out of Garrett Riley. I love it.
Easy schedule your paint online at ZeroRedRiver.com. That's ZeroRedRiver.com. The right way to paint spelled.
So I go to a volleyball game Friday night, and there's this guy surfing his phone, texting, watching the Braves on a tablet, and looking up occasionally to see the game. Wore me out. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Does a bowl game count as a 10-win season? I think so, right?
Say that again.
Does winning a bowl count as a 10-win season? So win 9 and then.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
When I said 10-2, I'm hoping they do. I mean regular season.
Saw everything I needed to see from Garrett Riley. Loved seeing guys schemed open, shots being taken downfield, receivers were fighting and winning contested catches. Stellato seemed to be the missing piece. Only sport Morgan and Allen probably excel at is pickleball.
Hey, I had 4 touchdowns on flag the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. That's the
Morgan wants to fire someone. Who is it? No, that's not true.
Oh yeah, Morgan wants to fire everybody.
Us against the world. Our natty is going to win. Now it's go win them all. Realist knew Clemson was 1 year away. Told it on a cruise ship. I've never been on a cruise, Al. You have to tell me. Really enjoy the show. We're so spoiled as fans. How are we not excited for the future? We lost to Clemson. If that's the only issue, we'll be fine. Fair to question These mistakes keep happening. We got to stop acting like nothing is wrong. How different schools won national championship this century? 12 and 24, including how many different? 12 and 24 years. Shipley and Moffa are great running back, but they lack the second gear speed. Many runs taking the house for ETN. A lot of these are Walt's. Walt doesn't clear out his text, I see. Uh-oh, we got Walt calling in. We got fortune cookie. Did I say something about Walt? I said, okay. Yeah, he can.
Steve and Jerry here from the world famous Beacon Drive-In in Spartanburg. Beacon has served over 300 menu selections of burgers, barbecue, chicken, fish, and more for over 70 years. Jerry, what's been the most popular? Chili cheese, plant diet, I need flounder, cheeseburger like the burger make it crust, and then make a whip, no trim.
Can I get fortune cookie first?
And Jerry, at the world famous Beacon Drive-In, the Union Bright City Boulevard in Spartanburg. Hey, plant diet.
MVP's bonus days back in Lowe's. Shop the largest selection of fine tools and get 5 times the bonus points. Plus, right now, buy a DeWalt Power Stack battery kit and get a select DeWalt bear tool free, up to a $249 value. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Bonus points calculated for taxes and fees before discount today. Out 9/18/2029, subject to change. Tomorrow's about to 10
We're back in the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. And as we continue our discussion, we've got a lot of people in the text line. Adams & Co. Roofing text line 864-654-7627. We've got a couple people on the line as well. A lot of people still optimistic. As I said, I listened to the show this week. I thought I was going to get a lot of, doom and gloom that you normally see on Twitter that I fight against. I fight the good fight against, which I probably should just give up because I'm not winning any of those battles. But you see a lot of the people that call in that are longtime listeners of the show actually saying, hey, you know what? I'm enjoying where Clemson is because I do feel like they're improving. And Texter gets in and says, you know what? If we really look back, is it so hard to say that Clemson is 1 year away? Is it hard to say that? Now, I think it was tough because you had a lot of guys that were returning. So you wanted a great season for those seniors and those graduates that were returning, like XT and Tyler Davis and Jaden Phillips and Sheridan Jones. You wanted a lot of the guys on the defensive side of the ball, but, Putnam as well. Guys that stuck around to kind of see what next year would do. And there's a little bit of, from a fan base, from my position, I wouldn't say maybe I'm not disappointed, but just I wish that they could have, had a better result at the beginning of the season, considering they decided to come back and put forth their best effort in a final last go at it.
Yeah, I think that's frustrating for sure for those guys that came back. But again, it's something they're going to have to push through. And you talked about all the guys on defense, especially that that came back to kind of do something. And you wanted this year. You kind of look at the landscape over the next couple of years, and you think this was the year to make that statement and kind of get back to the winning ways and potentially make a playoff and whatnot. And honestly, but if you've watched the team this year, you think we're still not all that far away, and a lot of our talent is young talent. You got a lot of young guys, like the Tyler Browns of the world, and the TJ Parkers of the world, Peter Woods, those guys who have a lot of talent as well. So it should be fun to see where we can go.
And we'll talk about some of the decisions and the starting lineup, the depth chart they released for the Syracuse game. I'm interested to see your thoughts on it as we go through. We got a caller on the air. Fortune Cookie, you're on with the Morgan Thomas Show. I'm doing well. Thanks for getting in. I agree. I think that this really shows, we're hearing it from Dabo, we're hearing it from Rukaroro and from Cade, that immediately after the game, because it was a 12 o'clock game, they were able to go back and look at film. And they've watched hours of film so far and gone back out and practice and gone. And Rook said it was refreshing for him to see so many people in the weight room, so many people watching film and continuing to try to learn. I mean, as a senior player, that's what you want to kind of pass on to the next group is that work ethic and what it's required to face adversity and overcome it and try to find where you're not good at and improve those areas and keep the areas that you are good at good while you're working on those areas as well. It's tough, but, and you're right. You know, I'm always going to be we because I'm always going to have that plaque on the wall. I'm always going to have the ring on my finger, right? I'm always going to be we in that sense. I think for me, it's just trying to avoid the losing sleep. You know, I don't want to lose sleep as much as I am. I'm getting older. I got a job. I got a family. So I want to get that 8 hours of sleep after a loss, but it's still pretty tough. Now, from the area that you were at, Fortune Cookie, the area you were at, did you feel like the people around you felt like that Clemson didn't have an opportunity? I mean, the people that I hung out with, the people that Alan hung out with around in the stadium, everybody felt like Clemson was in control. They just couldn't figure out how to get over the hump and win the game. Do you feel like that was the same feeling around you? And that's one thing I want to keep reminding everyone is that, you know, there was an opportunity for Clemson to go up 14. They chewed off a huge run and had the defense kind of reeling. And then that's when disaster happened at the very end. And you know, it's right now when you're going through the thick of it, it's so easy to point fingers. Well, Cade this, Maffa that, you know, Riley this, Dabo that, you know, and even going back into it where it's like, well, they should have had a different player. I'm going to die on this hill, Big Al. I'm going to die on the hill that not that Clemson shouldn't use the transfer portal, but I'm going to die on the hill that the roster they have right now could have beat Duke and could have beat Florida State. They don't need anybody else. The roster that they have is good enough. And they hear it from the fan base that they're not good enough, that there's some mystery person out there. I say no. That's the furthest from the truth. This group of guys, this group of young men could have won the first game of the season. They could easily be 4-0. And you could call me sunshine positive guy, but I feel like that's the truth. You have a lot of mistakes that are boneheaded mistakes that were disastrous mistakes. And as you mentioned now earlier in the show, game-changing mistakes that really the turnover margin and the scoring margin is so bad right now statistically for Clemson because of those plays, because it's not common. How many other teams is this happening to? Not very many, if any. Yeah. I mean, this amount of – go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I think so. And I appreciate your call, Fortune Cookie. It's always fun to get, your perspective. Call in more every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We really appreciate it. Great insight. That's what I like to hear is from fans who have been through the thick and thin, worse than I've been through. I mean, I've been through some bad years where my dad would take me and I'm like, you know what? It's going to be run, 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 punt. And I would be like, Dad, I don't really want to go to this game. Yeah. And I've been on the other side where it's, okay, can we leave early because we're up 40? And now it says, no, Morgan, we got to stay. And I go get another pretzel. And I go get another frozen lemonade and I sit for another hour. But when it comes to college football, when it comes to anything in life, there are ups and downs. My father-in-law, he always tells me, he says, when it's good, enjoy it. And when it's bad, endure it. And a lot of times in today's world, we don't want to endure it. We want to sign it away. We want to say, replace it. Is it still under warranty? Get it out of here. We're not enduring anything. If it's not under warranty, buy a new one. Well, you know what? That's not realistic every single time. And as I mentioned, I got hot, Al. I got absolutely hot with a guy who writes for somewhere, I don't know, on Twitter, of course. Excuse me, on X, as the Adams & Co. Roofing text line is reminding me now. Morgan, it's X. Remember, it's X. On X, after the missed field goal in regulation, which was tough. I mean, the guy got 2, and then the one he needed the most, he missed. Tough. This guy comes out and he says, this is further proof why Clemson needs to go to the transfer portal. And a couple weeks ago, I said I wasn't going to say that word because it's so divisive. Right. But it just struck a chord with me. It just really got on my nerves. It grind my gears. It crumbled my cookie. It squirt my pickle. It just really got me hot because this team has the players they need to win these games. Right. If you really watch the game. And to go out and say, well, look, the kicker is a prime example of Dabo is ancient. No, nobody in their right mind 6 months ago said they needed another kicker. Everything we heard was Robert Gunn's good. He's going to be ready. He's got a leg. By the way, he was a highly recruited kicker. Is it uncommon to say, you know what, when the lights are turned on, what you do in practice versus what you do in a game can be different? Al, I was a practice superstar. Was I that good in a game? Debatable.
Yeah, I think all that matters. And I think what's so frustrating for the fans is the fact that, like you said, we have the talent to win these games. We don't necessarily, need the transfer portal. I mean, yes, so in some positions it may certainly be an upgrade over what we have. I think that that could certainly be the case. Now, whether Dabo chooses to use it in the future or not, I think he will, sparingly at least. But it'll be interesting to see in this offseason what actually happens with that. But we have the talent to win these games, and there's simply growing pains with that talent as it gets older and gets more mature, and the game slows down for them a little bit on all facets of the game. And it's going to be tough to endure that along the way, but it's something Clemson fans certainly can do.
And there's going to be more players that get an opportunity to see. We get to see an opportunity from them to get out on the field and see what they can do. I'm curious because now we're talking about Ronan Hannafin. This is a true freshman that originally was on the fast track to get a red shirt. Now we're going to talk about Ronan Hannafin not going to be redshirted. Will we see more of him? Now we're seeing Troy Stellato. The ghost of Troy Stellato has been reincarnated and birthed out onto the field. And guess what? That man has some hands. Yeah. He caught a couple of bullets on Saturday that I thought were thrown way too hard. He caught them in stride and regularly fought for extra yards. Yeah. Troy Stellato deserves a lot of apologies from people. And no, he's not going to want, I know the type of guy he is. He doesn't want an apology. You know why? Because he knows he's done the work. This is a guy that has faced adversity, multiple injuries, all the way dating back to high school, and has continued to fight. And guess what? Not only has he continued to fight, but the coaching staff hasn't given up on him so easily. Hasn't turned in the warranty on him. Hasn't went out and bought something new on him. And look what he's doing now. He's got an opportunity, and he's making the most of it. Now, we don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the season, But, you know, he went from a guy who everybody kind of giggled at and said, Troy Stellato. I mean, you know, we remember that video, that one video where he torched a guy in a one-on-one like 7 years ago. We remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, we never see him. I think he's, you know, he's a full-time student now. After all that, doubts from the outside, questions, probably doubts from the inside with his injury and everything, he fought through it, and he's here now. And he's honestly going into this show. Somebody texted me and said, Morgan, I want you to talk about how Clemson needs to have Williams, Troy Stellato, and Tyler Brown as their top 3 wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Going into this season, would you have ever said that?
Nobody would have said that.
No one would have said that. And that's another reason why I like watching how it develops. Because what we thought was true is not true. And what we thought was going to happen is not going to happen. But some things that we had already written off as fans are kind of showing that, hey, not so flat, not so fast. Where's the spoon? We've got a ton to talk about over on the Adams & Co. Roofing text line. Get in 864-654-7627. Get in. Also call that number, and you can be a part of the show. Again, this is the Morgan Thomas Show, but it's not just about me and Big Al. It's about you as well. Get in. Let us know what you think. Am I being too positive? I just kept talking. I'm sorry. Tell Houston we'll be back after the break. I totally forgot about the hard break. I'm sorry. I'm. What happened to Walt? Okay. All right.
Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
Online at CordellCordell.com. 5580 Place, Suite 900, Greenville, South Carolina, 29601. Visit Cordell, license 3 and Illinois.
Steve and Jerry here from the world famous Beacon Driving in Spartanburg. Jerry, the Beacon opened back in 1946. How many years have we been serving great food at great prices?
Hey, quiet time.
70 years. How many folks are we still serving every week?
Hey, quiet time.
Well, like you always say, I like my job, but I love my customers. But can you say something other than A Mente?
All right.
Join Steve
And Jerry.
at the world famous Beacon Driving on John White Boulevard in Spartanburg, where the food is still always good since 1946.
Attention Clemson fans, Salty Fresh Golf Carts has expanded to the upstate and is called the fastest growing street legal golf cart brand in the world with Icon DP. Salty Fresh can customize the Clemson theme park of your dreams. Be the envy of your neighborhood and every check-in. Call 864-900-4332 or drop in for a test drive at 403 Highway 183 in Piedmont, South Carolina. Swing by our store and drive home your dream cart today. Go Tigers.
Step into the state-of-the-art pre-owned showroom at Roth Hayes Toyota in Anderson. Roth Hayes Toyota has hundreds of pre-owned and certified pre-owned vehicles for you to choose from, and they have award-winning service techs to take care of them when needed. If you've been looking for your next pre-owned vehicle, test drive one today at Roth Hayes Toyota in Anderson. In business for over 70 years. Roth Hayes Toyota, Clemson Boulevard, Anderson.
We roll the pecan price. Roth Hayes Toyota.
We're all sports fans here. As sports fans, what do we want from our teams? Well, I mean, we want to win. But the main thing we want is consistency. Well, in terms of your personal health, consistency is a major part in maintaining a healthy weight. That involves consistency in exercise. That involves consistency in sleep habits. And that involves consistency, of course, in your diet. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss, they talk about consistency a lot in building better habits for yourself. And sticking with those habits over the long haul leads to consistently good results that lead to a longer and healthier life. Consistency is one of the backbones of the PhD Weight Loss program. That's why I was able to not just lose 24 pounds in 5 weeks, but I'm able to keep that weight off now for over a year and a half. For more information, go to the website, myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, official partner of the Clemson Tigers.
The Pendleton Tire Company wants you to have a tire as strong as you are. The Michelin Defender LTX is ready for the tough jobs and the long hauls. It holds up to tough conditions and will keep you rolling strong with confidence. Give Zach or Joey a call at 864-646-3694. Michelin Tires and the Pendleton Tire Company, a winning combination since 1973. PendletonTire.com.
The pandemic is over, but COVID-19 is here to stay. In fact, it's still among the top 5 leading causes of death in the U.S., just after heart disease and cancer. So this fall, stay up to date with the latest COVID-19 vaccines, just like you do with the flu, because you've got no time for that too. The vaccine may not be for everyone. Please consult your doctor. Watching on the day.
We're back in the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. This is hour number 2 here at the night shift. All the brass is gone. Just me, producer Ramona, and Big Al by my side. Tearing it up. Having a good time. Oh, not really. We're just working. Having a good time with each other. Talking about Clemson football and getting into the discussion with the message boards. A lot of people feel like, you know what? There is a lot of football to be played. And I think it's exciting to hear the optimism, hear your opinions over on the text line, 864-654-7627. And we've got an old friend just been holding on, Mr. Houston Burnett. Welcome in. I know it's been quite some time. If you're not familiar with Mr. Houston Burnett, he is one of our co-hosts over on the YouTube channel, but he's taking a little bit of a break. So he's had a little time off to kind of collect his thoughts and watch the game, not being an analyst. You know, he's a proud papa of 2 now, so he's got a lot of responsibilities, and we wish him well. But Houston, you know, your thoughts, obviously it's Tuesday. It's kind of getting close to turning that page and get focused on Syracuse. For the team, I'm sure it's already ready to turn the page. For fan base as well, too. But your thoughts on the discussion with Florida State and the future for Clemson? I think it's important, as you mentioned, get up there and honestly, it's to me, Clemson always was, we would always ask, start off strong, start off hot, start off fast. I don't even care at this point. It's really just goes back to get rid of those disastrous turnovers. I mean, I don't even care for turnovers. I mean, normal turnovers, like Al said, would be perfectly fine. Just get an interception and fall over it, or fumble the ball and fall on it. Don't take it all the way back to the house. And you know what? I think things will kind of even out. It has to, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that. Houston, I need my T-shirt right now because I certainly agree with you on most of the things you said. And it's one of those things that's it's just really difficult to think about as far as the turnovers are concerned and these disastrous turnovers we're having. Like, how do you stop that? How do you go about stopping that? And I just think it's kind of it's all I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, it's just unbelievably bad luck. I mean, some of it's we bring on ourselves. Like you were talking about youth and inexperience, and you're not picking up the right blitz or something. Things are bound to happen. It's just I just think that it's bound to even out to an extent. I know you said you weren't willing to say that it's going to even out. I think it almost has to. Whether you continue to turn the ball over or not, I think is certainly up for debate because right now it appears that at least in the moment, while these players are growing, the young players are growing and getting better and gaining experience. That's who they are. They're going to be a little turnover prone, especially with somebody like Kate who likes to take some chances. And that's okay, but it's the ones that just inexplicably go all the way to the house. Whether it be for 40 yards or 70 yards or whatever it may be. I think that's what we've got to cut down on, and that would just drastically have changed the outcome of this season, and it certainly would have changed the complexion so far and the way people are viewing this team, from the outside and from within. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you getting in, Houston. We'll let you go and finish out the show tonight without you, but we appreciate you getting in and giving your thoughts on Clemson State of the football program. Thanks. Thanks again. That's Mr. Houston Burnett, former host or co-host with us over on YouTube. I was looking at the defensive line. Now, in the chat over on YouTube, people are saying this defensive line is not scaring me for Syracuse. This Clemson offense can rush the ball against the defensive line. And I'm kind of looking at it here, and I'm going to just butcher this name, but Caleb Okechukwu, sounds about right. 6-year defensive lineman who's appeared in 37 games, including all 36 over the last 3 seasons with 13 starts, 83 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, 1 interception, and 2 forced fumbles, a touchdown in his career. And he has his own podcast called The Mob, by the way. It's some NIL stuff here when they start talking about their podcast. But right now, 6'4", 276 as a redshirt senior. So that's their defensive end. And they do a 3-3-5. Okay, Big Al. And then they have, he's number 4. Then they have Kevon Darton, okay, 5'11", 271 in the middle of the defensive line there. 271 from Fitchburg, Massachusetts. Joined the program as a walk-on, but earned a scholarship in August of 2022. Joined the team, preseason camp, redshirted, increased his playing time, and now enters 2023 with 31 games played, 11 starts, 68 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hurries. So this guy, Kevon Darton, 5'11", 271 redshirt junior, is a former walk-on. I think where people are looking at is that height and weight. 5'11", 271, 6'4", 276. And then Dennis Jaquez Jr., number 58. He is a true sophomore defensive end. And 6'4", again, 254. Excuse me, I said I think the wrong weight. 6'4", 254. And in his freshman year, he appeared in 6 games in the rotation and suffered an injury on the sideline and missed 7 games after that. He has 3 tackles and a half of a sack from last year. So, I mean, when you're looking at it, you've got a guy that's a walk-on, you got a guy that was injured, so he's coming back now, and then you got a guy who is the veteran of the group, and he's on the edge. So now when I'm telling you those 3 on the defensive line, you can say, oh, they're undefeated, Morgan. We need to look at their schedule to say that, though. Their best win is against a Power 5 Purdue, and that team has completely lost all their coaching staff because they moved to Louisville. So, and a lot of players have left that team. So Purdue is not the Purdue of old. So my question to you, Big Al, is just on the outside looking in. I mean, if you're Clemson and they've been able to run the ball pretty well, and the 3-3-5 seems like I'm licking my chops here.
It would seem like that on the surface for sure. You really need to get Walt back on the line again, because he was the one that was talking about this and how difficult it might be for Clemson to run on them. You know, and I feel like we always outsize them on the offensive line, but the fact that they're smaller, they're quicker, they stunt, they twist, you know, they blitz, and all the movement in making you process those things, which, hey, you know, has shown to give us trouble at times so far this season for sure. it makes it difficult to pick up. It makes it difficult to run on if your offensive lineman isn't playing together and isn't filling the right hole or putting up the right block. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to run on a team like that, and that's one of those cases where Cade's going to have to get out and make some plays. And maybe he can do that. Obviously, he did that against Florida State. It's something he's capable of. We all know he's capable of. We've seen some of it at times. Is he going to be able to do it consistently for 4 quarters against the Syracuse defense in a place that we don't play well and never really have played well? Is kind of the question here. But yeah, on paper it doesn't look like much, but I got to tell you, I think it's pretty similar year over year.
Yeah, I'm just kind of falling into that trap, and the text line is jumping on me already. Morgan, don't fall into the trap. Don't fall into the trap of what the roster looks like.
That's right.
Don't fall into it, because Syracuse has always been one of those games where you just can't take it what's on paper. And I know Walt would be just chewing me out right now. Just don't take advantage of that. And the texter that said, it seems like a team you could run on. I mean, I do feel like Clemson has one of the best rushing teams in the country. I think they have 2 explosive running backs that have had a lot of success right now. And I think a lot of the times, if Clemson keeps the ball out of Cade Klubnik's hand and into those running backs' hands, much like with DJ, but for different reasons, more for maturity than for lack of accuracy, other things. But I would just say, lean on your running backs. Lean on Maffa and Shipley. Don't, and another thing, before we go to break, don't sit somebody because of a mistake. They're your best players. I get it. You want to punish them at practice, because Phil Maffa needs to be out there, mistake or not. Everybody else can make mistakes too, so give him an opportunity. All right, again, this is Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. We're going to be back right after this.
Listen closely. A water furnace geothermal system can save up to 70% on your heating and cooling costs. Will last twice as long on average than ordinary
What did
heat
Ben
pumps.
get?
You get the
Huh?
same
What did Ben get in and say?
He said, I texted him earlier. He said, Halloween decorations in September are for crazy people. Christmas music in October or November are for people that need to be institutionalized. Looking at you, Morgan. Oh, man.
Fair enough. I saw Dylan jump on and jump off.
Yeah, he'll be back he didn't realize it was the second 2-hour show. Have you looked at any of the games coming up this weekend?
Mhm.
You know, transition into that a little bit?
What you got?
Just looking at some of the games. Is there any big games going on? Notre Dame, Duke,
Yeah, I mean that is kind of the big one at 3:30.
LSU, Ole Miss,
Yeah.
Texas, Kansas,
South Carolina, Tennessee, baby.
South Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee.
Georgia's Auburn. Auburn's fan, sounds like a big game.
Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
It's football season. What's better than some delicious tailgate food on game day? Order a Smitty's tailgate package online by Wednesday and pick up on Friday or Saturday. It's that easy. Mix and match your options of packed 10 soul rolls and sauce plus 25 wings and 2 pounds of brisket. Then pick your size of 5 cheese mac, 2 potato crunch, or seasoned collard greens just like Grandma made it. Order your tailgate package today at SmittySmokingSoulFood.com. SmittySmokingSoulFood.com.
William Nichols from Schools Junior. I'm very fortunate to work in an industry that's almost entirely focused on celebrating life's good times and milestones. Like the anniversary highlighting 5, 10, 15 years or more spent with your best friends, the birthdays and Christmases, and maybe the biggest day of all, the marriage of 2 people. For engagement ring is more than just a diamond and a piece of gold. On the day it's given as a gift, it becomes a meaningful symbol marking the start of your new life together. In a few years, you won't remember the price tag on your engagement ring, but you will remember that look on her face when you open the box. That moment of sheer joy and excitement that says so many things to her that you could never express.
How do you spell tidings?
Because the true value of the ring.
Tidings? I'm going to reply back to him. Holiday music brings tidings.
Just like it sounds.
We'll help you find or make
Tidings of joy.
That's right.
The moment you open the box. I'm William Nichols at Stores Jewelers at Anderson, and online at storesdiamondjewelers.com, and I want to be your jeweler.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate and severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Risa, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who
I think the Hot Shots are poised to win yet another title. Thoughts?
Is that Jake?
achieved 90% clearer skin in 4 months.
I have no idea.
And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year.
1956.
Don't use allergic skin.
Last four.
Wait.
1956.
Before treatment,
So we've talked about the schedule.
If you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to, or
Tiger Call
Thanks
notes.
to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything.
Ororo. Thoughts.
Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
For the first time ever since opening its doors, the Greenville Men's Clinic is now the only men's health organization offering an intimacy guarantee. That's right. If you don't perform, you don't pay. You heard that right. Restoring intimacy is important to everyone. Helping men with a proven
The University of Clemson
success. That is
needs
why
to
the
get back to
Greenville
being
Men's
dominant,
Clinic stands
Tig
by the
says.
intimacy guarantee. Now you will have the assurance and
Shane says, I got my fantasy points from Pollard.
By using the latest technology,
Cowboys.
acoustic wave therapy,
Big Al needs to be more talkative. I try to say the same thing to Big Al. He doesn't talk.
Okay.
You got the segment, Al. All on you.
I don't like this. Not if we're talking about other games. Because I don't know who's playing. Anything about
Greenville Men's Clinic. Call the Greenville Men's
What's
Clinic
the-
today. 864-301-1111.
what's the pick,
That's
1956, that's Phil.
864-301-1111.
That's Phil.
864-301-1111 or greenvillemensclinic.com.
Welcome back in the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. Thank you for letting us be a part of your late night, your evening. Hopefully you are getting ready for tomorrow or maybe working. Whether you are working or getting ready for tomorrow, we hope you enjoy the show. Continuing our discussion on college football. Actually, we really haven't talked about college football. We talked about Clemson football. And not continuing the discussion on Clemson football, Ben Milstead gets in and he says, and I don't have it pulled up, but he says, Halloween decorations in September are for crazy people. Christmas music in October or November are for people who need to be institutionalized. So this all stems from a post that I shared with him on X.
Yeah.
Where I had a picture of Mariah Carey. And I said, asking for a friend, when can we play Christmas music on the radio?
Sure.
But asking for a friend. So I don't understand.
Yeah, wasn't you, of course.
I don't understand where you got me out of this.
Mm-hmm.
But so some more backstory. Last year, I started like right after Halloween. Maybe actually I might have even started before Halloween. And everybody in the station just got on me about it. And I say, you know what? You don't want joy in your life? I mean, the Christmas feeling, you don't want that?
It was a good feeling.
Why do you just want it for 1 month? Why don't you want it for 2 months? And everybody says, oh, well, you got to wait till Thanksgiving. Why? Where is this rule?
I got to tell you, I'm not much of a decorations guy anyways. So, I mean, I can't stand the whole, we have to put all this stuff out and then a month later have to put it all back and you have to go in the attic. And I just, oh my gosh, it's a nightmare scenario for me. So I'm more about the feeling inside as opposed to the outward decorations.
Yeah.
Look at me type stuff.
I mean, go ahead and start up Home Alone 1, 2, and 3.
I'm all good with that now.
Go ahead, start
One,
up
two.
all the tradition. Yeah, not 3. Yeah, you're right. Giving that one way too much credit. Go ahead and start the other Christmas movies like
Well, are you going to do it? Are you going to say it?
Star Wars trilogy, all 3 of them, all 3 trilogy.
But you're going Die Hard.
and Die Hard as well. Also, throw in Aliens. I say throw them all in there.
Why not?
I mean, so here's my thing about Star Wars. They're on a snowy planet. That's all you need.
Are they?
That's close enough to be in Christmas movie. That's all you need. Snow on a planet. That's all you need. Die Hard was actually set during Christmas, so But anyways, I wanted to take a look at some of the games over the weekend. Kind of take a step back from our Clemson pumping up here, getting ready for the weekend against Syracuse. And I was curious, Al, where is College Game Day going? Because College Game Day's got to go to, the most popular game of the week, right?
I think it's you.
Well, okay, Al, you just ruined it for me.
Well, you asked.
Well, I didn't really want you to answer.
You
I wanted you. It was a
You wanted to talk.
it was a facetious question.
Do you know what that means?
No, it was
Hypothetical question, maybe.
yeah, rhetorical. Something like that.
You're
Ramona,
saying a lot of big words.
it's one of those
I don't know the
words.
definition of any of them.
is one of those words right? Did I get one of them right?
Rhetorical was correct.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right. Did I say that one?
You did.
Okay, good. All right.
Kudos.
So I'm looking at the games. I like to go on ESPN.com. I like to see where the ticket values are. I'm going to throw in some big time ticket values for you here. Number 8, Southern California at Colorado, 12 p.m. on Fox. $202 to get in, as low as $202 to get in. Well, you got Deion Sanders. He's now the new intro voice of my show. He was my favorite player as a kid in the 90s.
They've been exposed.
Well, they don't have Travis Hunter right now. I think he's still dealing with his injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Lacerated spleen or something, or liver, something like that. Sounds very painful.
Okay.
He wanted to play, and Deion Sanders said, no, son, you got a lot of career ahead of you. You got a brighter future than even I did. He said, I love you. You should sit out, basically. I'm sure, Al, you would tell me to sit out if I was injured.
Yeah,
You wouldn't force me to play. You forced me to sit out, and I'm perfectly healthy. I am often a healthy scratch on the church basketball team. I don't understand it. Lethal from 3 at practice.
Need to fill the factor instead on that.
So $202. I don't know if I'll be flying out for that one, Big Al. Florida, Kentucky is $70. Let's see. You've got Georgia, number 1 Georgia at Auburn, $125. I was listening to a Georgia podcast recently. It was kind of off the cuff, and they were just talking about, it's kind of Auburn to them is, because they can't say this about Georgia Tech, but Auburn to them is people who couldn't get into Georgia.
Okay.
That's their whole thing. So they don't like to go there. They got it's a big rivalry between the two. And basically, you couldn't get into Georgia, so you decided to become an Auburn man. Now, they can't say that about Georgia Tech, because obviously you got to be smart to get into Georgia Tech.
Right.
Big time. So that one, $125 as low as. You got to go down to Auburn. Not a bad trip. I've been to Auburn twice. Saw 2 games. And I actually enjoyed it. Good stadium, nice little atmosphere there. The fans don't really like it when you start beating them, though, especially when you beat them with Hunter Renfrow. So they don't really like that. But let's continue through some of the hot games of the weekend. Number 13, LSU at Ole Miss. Number 20, Ole Miss. 6 p.m. game. That's $121 to get in. I had high hopes for Lane Kiffin to beat Alabama. It seems like, he just still cannot get over the hump.
Saw a little bit of that game.
I'm not really sure. I mean, obviously going back to Milroe was better. I don't know what, you go through practice and then you make the change like one game into the season. Kind of seemed weird, but Alabama is still a difficult team to beat, especially at home. And they're still going to be a team that the SEC West is going to run through, if they have anything to say about it. So LSU at Ole Miss, I think that's going to be an interesting game. 6 p.m., another ranked versus ranked game. You got $110 to get into number 11 Notre Dame at number 17 Duke. That's an interesting one. Now, Al, you already spoiled my reveal here, but College Game Day Week 5 location for the first time ever. is going to head to Durham, North Carolina, and Duke is going to host College Game Day.
I like it.
We put Duke on the map. Can we say that?
We did. I don't feel good about that.
Clemson put Duke on the map, unfortunately, for this season. Now, for real, they're coached by a really good coach. They've got a team that is very experienced. And I'm curious to see how well this game goes out for Notre Dame. You know, Clemson's familiar with Sam Hartman. Clemson's familiar with Notre Dame and Audric Estime. And they've got a couple of new threats on there that weren't there last year. But I still feel like that Clemson will have a chance, especially at home. Do you feel like that you're going to learn a lot from watching the Notre Dame Duke game?
Not really, no. I intend to watch it though. I think that would be one that's on one of my screens. I'm gonna have to set up a couple of TVs so I can watch a lot of these games in the afternoon. I haven't really got to do that much this year, so it's gonna be a fun weekend. Be able to see a lot of football. Really, be able to dig in a little bit more than I've been able to, and kind of see what these teams are all about. But I'm excited about that one. I think that one will be an interesting test for Notre Dame, especially coming off that heartbreaking loss to Ohio State last week. Will they be able to gather themselves and be able to compete with a good Duke team, a very well coached Duke team at home game day? Should be a good environment for Duke, and I think it'll be interesting to see.
I wonder who will be the celebrity or former player, celebrity guest picker at Duke. Do you think it'll be maybe like
Rick Wallace?
Please don't say him. No, please don't. Who could be the celebrity guest picker for Duke? This is the first time they've ever had the game, our College Game Day there, as I mentioned. So my first thought was, doesn't it have to be somebody from basketball?
Sure, why not?
I mean, who else are you going to have? Is there anybody else other than someone from basketball? Now, there is someone that I think would be kind of funny. So you got JJ Redick. Of course, he could do it. I don't know if he's still employed by ESPN, but he is one or a former one. JJ Redick, 3-point superstar, right? But he's very busy. He does a lot of things. He's got a lot of extracurriculars. Coach K recently retired, maybe counting the waves in some beach somewhere. Maybe he'll step away and give some picks. College Game Day. I think that would be a pretty popular pick there.
Yeah.
Then I was thinking, what about Steve Spurrier? The old ball coach.
Comedy gold there, man.
He's not really like somebody you remember from Duke unless you're been around college football for a while, but he did coach Duke.
Yeah.
And we won't talk about it, but beat Clemson.
How about Jones, their former quarterback?
Daniel Jones will be a good one, but it's Saturday. So you're thinking right before the NFL Sunday game.
What's he still playing?
Yeah. He's playing, I think. We'll have to call Walt and ask him if he's still playing.
Yeah, playing.
I really do feel like, Daniel Jones could be one of those, but again, he's playing football. He's not going to be one of those. Jay Billis, popular pick, ESPN analyst, or popular, not ESPN, but he does College Game Day for the basketball side of things. So maybe he comes in. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm curious to see what you think on the Adams & Co. Roofing text line. Who is going to be the celebrity guest picker for Duke? First ever guest picker. $110 to get in. You going to buy that? No? Okay. And then you've got, let's see, is there any more that's pretty expensive up there on the board? Yep. There is $174. So more expensive than the College Game Day game. This one as low as $174 at Tennessee, South Carolina. This rivalry is getting a lot worse between the two.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it over on X. There's a lot of anger from Tennessee fans after what happened to them last year against South Carolina.
Yeah, we need Phil to get in here. He was on the text line earlier. He needs to call in and tell us about what's going on and what's going to happen with the Tennessee game, because I know he's been you know, obviously he's watching all the volunteer games, and we talked about it the other day a little bit about how they've looked. And I don't know that he was anticipating them, you know, doing what they've done so far, and they've looked a little bit less than impressive as opposed to what fans were thinking about. So we need to get Phil in here on the phone. I know he's called Walt before. I've heard him call in and call Walt talk basketball. It's your time to call in and talk Tennessee football.
I think that when you look at it, you know, this is the game that Hendon Hooker was hurt. And they ended up just running all over Tennessee, 63-38. Hooker was helped off the field with a knee injury at the time. Didn't have a bad game overall, but it was one of those games where it's like, wow, South Carolina did what? And a lot of the Tennessee fans remember that. They bookmarked a lot of the bragging that went on after that game, and they're ready to show that they're going to get revenge for Hendon Hooker. I'm interested to see how that game goes. I think that'll be one that I'm really going to look forward to, along with, you know, I always try to keep in touch with both teams from South Carolina, Clemson and South Carolina, see how they do every week. But this one's going to be a tough one to pick because Tennessee's not as good as what I thought they would be preseason. Mm-hmm. And South Carolina, while they can't run the ball, they still can throw the ball pretty well.
Yep.
So we'll see how it goes. We're heading into the final segment of our show. This is the Morgan Thomas Show. Hang with us. One more segment to go on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. Shane says guest picker will be Grant Hill.
Okay. Like that.
What do you mean?
I'm not saying we have any, but how would you
Right here.
Well, I know how you normally would, but that wasn't on the screen.
Oh, I just wasn't.
Oh, okay. I knew JD was supposed to go on. I did call Phil about filling the phone. So.
Got a bummer loss. Pouted lip.
Is that a backwards comment? Love it.
Let's make this year's Tigers for Tatas the best one yet. Standing water that must be smelling the basement.
Call the local experts for a free estimate. Call Canton Foundation Specialist at 864-403-5263 and ask about transferable warranties and available financing. That's 864-403-5263 or online at cantoncanfixit.com.
Attorney Joe Cordell. Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone who has skills.
Online at CordellCordell.com. 5580 Place Suite 900 Greenville, South Carolina 29601. License and Illinois.
Do.
Call Royal Flush at 864-238-8800 or visit them online at royalflush.com.
Ramona, after never mind. I was thinking after the show we could test it. You know, when the other thing's going on. I'm gonna have to ask. I need to ask Ben how to do it. Oh man, I'm with you. What do you want to go over, Al? Last segment.
Looks like we're going over Gamecock football.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were supposed to give somebody a pep talk or something. You already do that?
Yeah.
Online at reads.com.
You already do that. I think.
It's kind of mushed in between a bunch of stuff. So.
You need someone by your side to help get you justice. Liberated places.
Do 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 do.
Call today.
I'm definitely stuck on that. We are back, the Morgan Thomas Show on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. Myself, Morgan Thomas, along with producer Ramona. Thank you so much, Ramona, for hanging with us and pressing the buttons over there, making sure that everything works exquisitely on that side of things. And then also Big Al on my side. Thank you for giving me your opinions, thoughts, emotional outbursts, if you will. Jokes of the day. We're continuing in final segment, and final segment has our token Gamecock fan, JD, gets on to talk Gamecock football to end the show. Everybody got to have a token Gamecock fan, and we do, and we love him. We do. JD. We're doing great. And you're doing great, coming off a win against Mississippi State, 37-30. How you feeling? Now, how valuable? Now, it's kind of a different scenario here. You have Spencer Rattler, who is obviously experienced. Probably next step is going to go try to play on Sundays after this year. So while as Clemson has a true sophomore that's kind of still figuring it out, how does it feel on your side to have a guy who's more experienced? Because a lot of Clemson fans are saying they just can't wait until Cade is at that level where he is the experienced one. How does it feel to have an experienced quarterback? For sure. And I think a lot of that has to do with your offensive coordinator, Dowell Logan's. Rattler comes out and says that the new offense and the scheme that they have is simple, and it's allowing him to have those 2 incompletion nights and be so accurate. Would you agree? I know going into the season, there were a lot of doubts about him, but now 4 games in, what are your thoughts? What? Well, I'm saying about the offensive coordinator. So your offensive coordinator, Dowell Logains, Spencer Rattler feels like that he's one of the big reasons for the accuracy in his scheme. he's continuing to have a great year so far. 5 passes caught, 189 yards, including a touchdown of 76 and 75 yards. So 2 touchdowns, 2 monster touchdowns, explosive plays coming from him. One of the best wide receivers in the nation right now. Is that surprising to you? I mean, he's a guy that's up there that's being talked about with the other top guys. Honestly, probably more than the guys you thought going in. Statistically, he's up there, and now he's got these huge explosive plays. You got to be excited about that. Was it shocking for you? Texter gets in on the Adams & Co. Roofing text line, says, pains me to say, but if Clemson only had Spencer Rattler, they would be undefeated. Do you feel like that's true, or is that maybe an overstatement? Right. Yeah, definitely. I think that the running game is I think the running game is better. I think that they're showing that they're making runs between gaps that they didn't have available before. Now, Florida State closed up those gaps a little bit better than they've seen earlier in this season. But I do believe that the running backs have been able to get to the second level a little bit easier this year. And Will Shipley has been very lethal in yards after the catch on those behind the line of scrimmage passes. I know a lot of people hate those behind the line of scrimmage passes. But as I'm going through the passing chart that'll come out later tonight, he had a monster catch, and he was 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage again. So you have Will Shipley, who is very explosive from behind the line of scrimmage with passing. And then you have a guy who's completely different in Phil Maffa, who can also catch the ball, but is a bigger guy and more of a bruiser between the tackles. And he can do that. And they've seen success there, opening up those gaps, getting to the second level. So I do like Clemson as a run first team to open it up. Now, I'll talk to you about some of my frustrations here in a minute, but let's go back to South Carolina real quick. We'll give you one more pitch for your team. ESPN's analytics has a 70.4% chance of Tennessee winning. Why is that wrong? Right, right. I think that, any team has a chance, that's for sure. I'm curious to see how the game goes. Obviously, one of those ones that's kind of higher up there in ticket prices we talked about earlier. Now, one other thing for the Clemson side of things, when you go back and when you see Clemson 2-0 or 2-2 now, a lot of fans kind of feel like they lost the faith. Now, from a South Carolina fan, we've heard it all this week so far, Monday, Tuesday now. We've heard Florida State fans, we've heard South Carolina fans, we've heard Georgia fans say, hey, Clemson just has to stop making those disastrous mistakes. They're a good team. They don't need any new players like everybody's kind of griping on social media. They just need the players that they have, and they need to stop making those mistakes. Do you think that's true? Do you think that Clemson has a much better team than their record shows?
Remember the Titans?
Well, as long as you keep the faith, that's for sure. There's a lot more games left to play, and let's let them get played before we start making assumptions on what will happen or won't. Well, JD, I appreciate it, man. Our token Gamecock, our favorite token Gamecock, getting in, giving his opinion on the state of South Carolina football, and also some thoughts on the other side as well. I appreciate it, JD. Hope you have a good night. Man, the show has flown by, Big Al. We got a lot that we covered. I hope you enjoyed it. If you watched or watched in over on YouTube and listened in over on 105.5 and 97.5 The Roar. Again, this is the Morgan Thomas Show. We appreciate you, and we'll be back here every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill. Thanks. Snuck it. All right, everybody. I appreciate it. I know we couldn't hear the callers, but I appreciate everybody getting in. I'm gonna close this out so we can pack up.